Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I am here today with the Counterfeit Kit Challenge, which is a scrapbook kit building group. I do their challenge every month, and in fact I do 2 scrapbook kit building challenges each month. So it being the beginning of March, I am here with the Counterfeit Kit Challenge. If you don't know anything about them, you can visit their blog where they post their challenge, and they also have a Facebook group for sharing your kits and your projects. So each month they offer an inspiration piece, and this month is a perfect example of why counterfeiting your own kit can matter. This month's inspiration piece is actually a digital kit, and if you're not a digital scrapbooker, you can take inspiration from this kit and build your own paper crafting kit. Now we will take a look at this kit more closely, but before we move on, I want to remind you that the Counterfeit Kit Challenge has a guest designer every month, as well as ongoing designers every month who use the inspiration and show you what they're doing with it. And then later in the month, there are various challenges to get you moving and working and get your creative juices flowing. So do check out their information, and I will have the links to all of this in the show notes. So let's take a look at the inspiration. So this is from Mommyish, and this collection is called Paper Addict. And like I said already, this is a digital collection. So we will take a closer look at each of the elements here. We've got the digital papers, which have an officey, crafty vibe to them, and a bright, cheerful color palette. And we do have some pops of black in there, which I appreciate against cheerful colors. And then in terms of embellishments, we have various kind of die-cut element style pieces. What I noticed right away was buttons, and I haven't used buttons in a very long time, so I'm definitely going to pull those out. I also really liked these little word strips, so I'm going to find a way to incorporate that into my kit. And then of course there's these kind of rolled paper flowers, which could totally be handmade on your own. And in fact, the Counterfeit Kit Challenge has a process they call Forgery on the 4th. So on the 4th day of every month, they show you how they forged a product. And so these paper flowers would be perfect to recreate. So the other element in here that caught my attention was the paper clips. And so I'm going to look for those in my stash, and I do shop from my stash most of the time. Very rarely do I buy new things for this project. And that's another great thing about this project is there's no cost involved. And then their final inspiration piece here is some like journaling style cards. So I'll see what I can do about that. So let's go to my stash and I will pull out some supplies and show you where I went with this inspiration. As we get started with this kit build, let me say that I do make my own rolled paper flowers as well as journaling cards, so hang out till the end of this video to see how I do that. Now I started with this piece of paper which had a bright cheerful color to it, and I've been hanging on to this piece because I really like that color and I haven't been sure what to do with it. So the next piece I pulled out, and I'm trying to show you the brands here. Now most of these items probably aren't available anymore, but I will show you the brands just in case. That piece was a good close match, and both sides actually worked, and I had 2 sheets, so I threw both of those in there. This next sheet is an old SCI paper, and that's no longer available, with a text in the kind of pinkish purple color and a yellow background. And then I found this Chamel rainbow print with a yellow background, and this camera print, which I believe is an Amy Tangerine, that has camera straps in that purplish pink color, and also a yellow background. And then typewriters were a part of the inspiration kit papers, and I found a typewriter paper with a yellow background. Now that floral that I have there has a white background to it in some stars, and I'm going to talk about mixing kind of a yellow or cream background with a white background just a little bit in this video. I know that's something that bugs some people, so I will touch on that just a bit. Now I was showing you the brands of those other pattern papers. And this is an Echo Park, just a simple black and white polka dot, and now it is a true white polka dot there. And this piece is how I'm tying those yellow creamy colors and white together. That ledger print has both of those color elements to it. And this piece of paper is just a simple grid print in a pure white, and I'm going to use that to help me mix and match my cream and white background tones in this kit. Then I pulled out 2 sheets that I can use as cut-aparts that have that kind of officey or crafty vibe to them. And this piece had some of that kind of purpley pink tone to it. It's more pink than purple, I admit, but it'll be okay. And then because that piece also had a teal color to it, I decided that my second color in this palette would be a bluey teal color. Now I didn't have a lot of true teals in my supplies, so I just went in and picked out blues that I thought would work okay. And these next three pieces here, including that blue floral, are from Amy Tangerine. And I chose both blues leaning towards the teal end and also this blue leaning towards navy because I like the contrast that the navy will add to everything here. So those are the reasons behind the papers that I picked out. Now we're going to take that white grid sheet and make some journaling cards, or rather at the end of the video I'm going to use that to make some journaling cards. So let's talk about the embellishments that I pulled before we get to that. I pulled out my colorful button bin, and there's actually some flower shaped button like elements in there that I'm going to use. I also found flare badges while I was looking. I wanted centers for those flower buttons, so I chose some small sequins, and I chose gold because the paper clips that I pulled based on the inspiration were gold. Now I have this little envelope die cut that has some flowers coming out of it. I have more of that style somewhere, and I will find them later and add them to this kit. And then for those word strips that I mentioned, I have a die set, a die and stamp set that will cut out word strips for me, so I threw that in there. Twine is required for buttons, so I've got that. And here you can see my homemade embellishments that we will get to right after this segment is done. So journaling cards and some rolled paper flowers, and that calls my embellishments good. So let me show you how I made those embellishments. For the rolled paper flowers, I just went to my scrap bin and chose some colors that would work in pinks and blues. And then on the back side, I draw a little circle, and then I draw a skinny spiral. The thicker your spiral is, the taller your flowers will be, and the chunkier they'll be if you put this in a scrapbook album, and they may not work so well. So keep your spiral thin if you plan on putting these in albums. And then they'll be chunky, but they'll be thin enough that you can probably get away with it in an album. So now I'm going to roll these flowers, and make sure you're rolling the colorful side inward, and then you just kind of let it spring back and fluff apart and kind of fluff it up a little bit, and then glue it down in the center. And that's why I started with a circle when I was drawing those paper flowers, because you want to save that circle for gluing everything down. And now I'm just cutting out some kind of cat's eye shaped pieces, and I'm not worried about the shapes or size very much. And I fold them in half, and these are just going to give me some cute little leaves to glue on to the edges. Now I've got two paper flowers done, and when I glue those flower centers to that circle in the middle, that usually leaves some overhang, and I cover up that overhang with leaves. Now I only needed a couple of leaves on each of these to cover it up, but if you're finding your floral base is too big, you can just add more leaves and cover it up. So I glue a button in the center of my flowers to kind of hide all the rough edges and to give it more cute factor. And those are done. They're easy, they're simple, and they're fun and cute. The only drawback to them is that they are kind of chunky, so just keep that in mind. So next we're going to make some journaling cards. I have this Simply Stitched set it's a die set from Lawn Fawn. You don't have to have a die set. You can always just cut a rectangle 3 inches by 4 inches tall, and if you have a corner rounder, you can round your corners. And that's all you really need for journaling cards is, cutting your paper down to the right size. But this little set has lots of little extras in it, which is really cute. They have a banner flag, they have these little star and heart shapes that you can punch out. So I use those in various ways, die cutting the pieces and gluing them down to my base journal cards. And I create my own little journaling cards. So I mix and match pieces together, so banners vertically or horizontally. I had a banner that one I cut has star prints on it, and then I go ahead and add some hearts to it, so you can mix and match your little symbol motifs there. You don't have to stick with just stars or just hearts. Now with the leftover pieces, I actually will cut out partial journal cards, and then I will glue them together in a way that creates a whole journal card. So if your sheets are too small, don't worry about it. Just cut out the pieces and line them up with another journal card and glue them together, and you'll have the right size. If you've got leftover bits, I'm going to show you, take those leftover bits, trim them down a little bit so that they'll be smaller than your journal card size. And then I'm going to use this little spiral binding punch that I have in my stash, and I use that totally because the inspiration piece had that element to it. And then I'm going to staple and glue these down to give that office vibe that was going on in the kit. And then I kind of ruffle up the edges for some texture. And if you don't have that punch, go ahead and do the layers like I did, add some extra staples, and call it good. So that is it for this kit. I will leave you with these close-up photos. Notice that I forgot to mention this roll of washi tape that I added into the kit. So that is in there as well. So that actually wraps up everything in this kit. If you got anything helpful out of this video, please do give it a like. That does help my channel. I'll be back on Friday playing with washi tape in many ways, and I'll be back next week using this kit in a process video. I'll see you then.